Welcome to SEPSA Talk. I am Evans Apia Kisi, the host of SEPSA Talk. SEPSA, a Center for Better Society Advocacy and Research Africa. SEPSA Africa is a non-profit organization that believes in better society for all. We in SEPSA believe that a better society begins with you and I. Hashtag, a better society begins with me. For more information, please log on to our various social media platforms. YouTube, SEPSA Talk, Facebook at SEPSA Africa, Instagram, SEPSA Africa, Twitter at SEPSA Africa, and then log on to www.sepsaafrica.org. Before I introduce our topic for today and our guest to deal with the issue, it is important to let you know that as we are about to go into election 2020, in the case of Ghana, we need to understand important elements that help us to shape our democracy. And so today, we look at a very, very important topic, which is politics and elections in Africa, democracy or moneycracy. In most parts of the world, not only Africa, the financing of politics or political campaigns has received huge attention. This is because political financing is key for a proper functioning of democracy. In Africa, for example, the monetization of electoral politics, and in particular, increasing vote buying, raises serious concerns for our democracy. And in this episode, our discussion focuses on how we could end monetization of our politics and rather strengthen our democracy in Africa, a democracy that puts the need of the majority topmost priority. To help us deal with this issue are Dr. Ishmael Reku. He is health and social policy researcher and a policy scientist. He's a policy analyst for the Ministry of Energy and Resources, Regina, Canada. He holds a PhD in public policy from the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy, USASK, Canada. He has MA in political science, public administration in Brock University, Ontario, Canada. And he holds a BA in political science from the University of Ghana, Legon. His expertise lies in health and social policy, mineral land policy, and elections. Dr. Ishmael Reku, welcome once again to SEPSA Talk.
Thank you for having me, and I'm pleased to be on the show again.
Thank you very much. Our next guest is Mr. Lord Edusei Akins. He's currently a doctoral researcher at University of London School of Oriental and African Studies. His research focus is international development policy and biosecurity. He has Master of Science from Stockholm University, Sweden, Master of Science from Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, Sweden, and Bachelor of Science from KNUST, Ghana. Welcome once again, Lord Edusei Akins, to SEPSA Talk.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm glad to be on the show.
We are also glad to have you. And then we are happy to have Professor Enoch Opoku-Antwi as one of our guests for today. He's an associate professor of leadership and management at Viterbo University, La Crosse, Wisconsin. He's a leadership consultant, an author, and civic educationist. He holds a PhD in business organizational leadership from the Indiana Wesleyan University, Indiana, USA. MSc in business organizational leadership from Mount St. Joseph University, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA, and holds a B.Ed psychology from the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. We are so happy to have you, Professor Enoch Opoku-Antwi. Welcome to SEPSA Talk.
Thank you, Evans. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great. And then before we even start talking about this important issue, I would also like to take this opportunity and wish, for those of you who are not aware, Professor Opoku Entry, today is his birthday. Prof, we wish you a happy, happy birthday, and we wish you long life and also good health in the coming years.
Thank you, sir. All of you should send me a check. I can spell my name for you, so that will be easy.
No worries, SEPSA will do that. Okay, so viewers, thank you for having us again, and I'm sure that you would enjoy the show as usual, as you always do. And we are happy to have our gentleman right here. Without wasting any time, we'll just start straight away as we look at this important topic of monetization, or is it democracy or monocracy that we have. Quickly, I'll start with you, Dr. Rekum. And I would like you to walk us through what the difference is between democracy and monocracy in politics. What is it? What is the difference between these two terminologies?
All right, thanks, Evans. Before I answer the question, I would like to welcome everybody too, especially Prof. Anchi. I'd like to say happy birthday to you as well. And it's great to meet you. Yeah. Okay, so talking about difference between democracy and monocracy. I know I just want to start it by this way. I mean, African countries, for instance, have transitioned from various political systems, okay, since independence. Of course, Ghana was was even the first country in Sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence in 1957. Since then, many African countries have gone through a turbulent period of political history. And we can talk about, we started off with independence, especially in Ghana. We started with, after independence, we started with a democracy. Not long after, we saw a remnant of one-party state being pushed onto the agenda. That resulted to kind of a revolution or military attempt to overthrow the government, which was successful. Since then, we are moving from military rule democracy, then back to democracy. But I think one thing we have to note, and of course we have seen, is that since 1990s, almost all African countries have taken a new paradigm. They've taken a paradigm shift towards democracy. Of course, when we talk about democracy, there are so many differences, but I think the most fundamental issue or criteria for assessing whether a country is democratic or not is based on what? On the rule of the people. To what extent are the people the fundamental authority within the state? Okay, so in many countries, for instance, where democracy occurs, we have the people exercising the power in the state, the sovereign power in the state. In Ghana, when you look at the Ghana's constitution, Article 1 and Article 35, for instance, talks about the fact that we are in the state we are setting up is a democratic state, which could put the sovereign authority in the people, and everything that should be done in the authority should be done in the interest of the people. But of course, you cannot have everybody partake in politics because of the large population, the huge population we have across the world, and of course in African countries. So we have developed what's called a liberal or representative democracy, by which the people actually elect their leaders or agencies to represent them in the National Assembly. So people provide authority to the lead or to the leaders or their representatives to represent them, and whatever they do according to the principle of democracy should evolve from the people. So when we talk about difference between democracy and monocracy, I would like to say that when we talk about democracy, it's where the people rule. It's where elections actually provide opportunity for everybody within the state, okay, to decide. Especially those, there are criteria for determining that. In Ghana, for instance, we say people of 18 years of age and of sound mind, okay, which means that as soon as you qualify for this or you meet the two basic criteria, you are eligible to vote and partake in election, so that your interest, the wish of the people, can be represented at the political level. So that is what we call democracy. But we have other things. Elections is there, multi-party political parties competing for the election, and we have the respect for the fundamental human right, universal adult suffrage. We have various mechanisms, but at the end of the day, all of these are supposed to ensure that the sovereign will of the people is respected within a state. But since African countries acceded to democracy in the 1990s most of the time, we're saying that some of these democracies have actually relapsed. In fact, they have retrogressed. And now we are seeing the role of money. Money has become the centerpiece of democratization in many parts of the continent. And it is this issue of monetization that has resulted in the new concept, which actually evolved from the idea of democracy, saying that, what we are practicing now is as a result of money. It is not as a result of the interest of the people. People who partake in elections are seeking their self-interest, okay, rather than the interest of the people. And you can see this in the way how election is run across the continent, okay. I'm from Ghana, so I can tell you a bit about Ghana, but we see that during elections, you see political parties and candidates, seeking authority from the people, dashing out monies. They spread wealth. Huge wealth is being spread. So in a monocratic society, you see that when it comes to election, some people call it their cocoa season. Okay, it is the time to chop. Some others put it that way, that it is the time that they want to siphon the resources of the state, and so they use that as venue to take a lot of resources from the people who are seeking authority. And the authorities have also seen that because of that, they also try as much as possible to spend as much as possible to convince the people. So in a monocratic society or political system, you see that when it comes to elections, political parties actually do expensive campaigns, very expensive campaigns with expensive billboards across the country. And you see a lot of people, some of the people even tells you that, without money, you cannot win election in Africa or in Ghana. Okay, so these are the remnants of a monocratic state. Okay, which or some of the democratic states that we are saying that they shouldn't continue because they undermine the fundamental principle for which a democracy was set up. Okay, so the difference between monocracy and democracy is just that in a monocratic state, you see that the rich, usually people who have the resources, are the ones that tend to have the opportunity to rule. Those without resources do not get the opportunity to rule. And of course, this manifested in Ghana more recently when the NDC was, conducting their primaries for their candidate, presidential candidate. You saw that, the NDC actually fixed a filing fee of about 420,000 Ghana cedis. Many of the prospective candidates actually were complaining that 400,000 cedis is a lot. If 400,000 Ghana cedis is a lot of money. That if you continue to put or fix the filing fee at that level, many of the people who cannot afford will not be able to participate, and a lot of natural resources will be siphoned in order to engage in politics or in order to win the authority of the people. And so you take the people for granted because the people have kind of sold their conscience to you. So in a democratic state, one other thing you see that you see a lot of vote buying. Incumbency abuse is also another character of a democratic society. Okay, incumbency abuse. You see the incumbent government organizing a huge campaign. Like sometimes some of them will call Believe in Ghana campaign. Okay, they invite a lot of musicians, etc., to the campaign ground, and they are paid huge sums of money just so they can impress upon the people to vote for them. But I think as we move on, you see that money is not the only incentive, and that any political system that focuses too much on expenditure on money is going to cause disaster. Like, there's evidence, some research have been conducted that in Ghana, for instance, about 300,000 Ghana cedis are spent by each candidate in one election. Okay, they seek primaries and as well as seek the candidacy to represent their people in parliament. that is a huge money that the ordinary person will never be able to afford. And so if you continue to do go on like this, okay, a lot of people, the people whose the sovereign will of the country is supposed to be vested, will rather be taken for granted. And that we are not going to have a very proper society we have always dreamed about for so long a time. So basically, Evan, these are some of the features that characterize a monocracy and that of a democracy. Instead of the sovereign will of the people ruling in a democracy, they don't. It is rather the rich interests that rule in the context of a monocracy.
Thank you very much. But I hope we are also not suggesting that rich people should not hold positions. And so, you know, democracy, as has been said by others, is also quite expensive. So I hope this is not a case that if you are rich and you get the opportunity to rule, it necessarily amounts to monocracy, right?
Yes, Evans. Actually, in a democracy, we are not giving opportunity to any section of the population to rule. We are giving the opportunity for the people, the whole country. Okay, everybody in the state to rule. So we should have equality of opportunity to ascend onto the political system and be able to rule. Okay. But the issue is that when you fix the filing fee and the cost of election becomes so high, you exclude a lot of people. And that is the issue. It is not like the rich should not rule and the poor should rule. It's about making sure that everybody gets the opportunity to rule. Okay. So it's like you earn $2 a day or in annual salary, and you are asked to pay $5. The issue is that those people who earn below $5 will not be able to afford it. But it's only those who earn beyond the $5 will have the opportunity to rule. And that bring about exclusion. So it's not a matter of saying that only the poor people should rule. It's that everybody should have the opportunity to rule. And monocracy does not allow that to happen.
Okay, very well, very well. Point well made, and I think it's very clear. So thank you very much. And then let me come to you, Lord. I think that Dr. Rekun has already explained very well the difference between this monocracy and democracy, which is more about curtailing the opportunity of, most people to be able to be part of governance, if I would say. But the question I want to ask you is that, how did we get here? How did we get to this system? Because as Dr. Reku already gave a bit of history around, coming from democracy, we move into military rule and then back to democracy. I don't think this was the case. But so how did we get there? What are the causes of these monocracy in politics? Is it a phenomenon which is imported, or you think it's a homemade, what are the causes of monocracy in the African politics of today?
Thank you very much for the question. And now, as my friend Ishmael wished Professor Entry a happy birthday, so I also want to take the opportunity to wish him a happy birthday. And we hope that he's going to have a fruitful enjoyment today with the family. Coming to the question, we live in Africa where politics is supposed to be equal, as Ishmael said, but that has not been the case. And we've gotten to a situation where money has become the defining character of the politics that we see. But how did we get to this situation? If you look at Ghana, for instance, the issue of capturing state power has been a major concern for all the political parties. Each political party in Ghana has one major priority: to capture power, to govern or form government, and to implement its policies. So this is the primary objective. But to capture power, or to even compete in an election, to survive as a political party, and to organize a party itself require a lot of money. And this is the reason why money has become so important in politics. Everywhere you go in the world, money is important, no matter what. Even in the Scandinavian countries where they want to go on a low-key politics type, they still involve or spend a lot of money in politics. However, in Africa or in Ghana per se, the fact that we have a system whereby when I capture power, the opposition doesn't have any other say until another 4 years has made it crucial for everybody to win power. And that also means that they need to pump as much money as they can so they can win power. Research has established that if you spend more money, you are more likely to win power than the other candidate or the other party that did not spend money. So spending money has become a huge focus of many of these political parties, because they think that the more money they spend, the more likely they are able to win power. So winning power to require resources. But these political parties themselves do not have businesses. And not all political parties, but some political parties do not have businesses. Therefore, they have to source their funding from either within the party through membership contribution or from other sources. It could be foreign, it could be from businesses, it could be from trade unions. Getting this money is very important. So when political parties are organizing themselves and getting ready to compete for election or getting ready to campaign, they are also looking at what is coming in. What kind of money is coming in? Where is it coming from? Is the coffers of the political parties rich enough for them to campaign? So when it is not rich enough, then these political parties will begin to look at other avenues or other sources. And some of the people who usually donate their money to the political parties have their own agenda. Some will want to take over the policy so that when the political party, say party A wins power, they will take over policy making. Their interest will be implemented. So they have their own reasons why they also donate money. But where did we get from a democracy to moneycracy? A key factor is that power is crucial. We want to capture power. We want to implement our policies. A political party that cannot implement its own agenda or its own ideology or its own programs cannot be said to be a political party. But how do you capture power? You need to pump in money. The second point is that techniques of getting power has changed considerably over the years. Formerly, there were no internet. There were no 24-hour television broadcasts. Today, we have all these kind of media platforms. Therefore, for a political party to reach as many people as they can, they need to spread money into all these areas. So they have to finance advertisement. They have to attract media. Because if you are going to have a rally and the media people are not there, who is going to sell your case? So they have to bring the media in. But some of the media people will not come unless you have settled them. And all these payments require money. So the changing technique of politics, is one crucial factor. Currently, we have rallies all over. When there's election, you have people going for rallies. Political parties should be able to bring their supporters from near and far. How can they do that? They need money to be able to do that. Secondly, some of the political parties undertake to go on marches. Some go on demonstrations. All these require money. So when you need this money to be able to achieve your goal, then you realize that you become desperate for everything. So one of the key reasons is that sources of money for the political parties are very, very narrow. They don't have much, but they must win election. So they conduct or they engage in all kinds of activities. Some of them are legal, others are illegal. But they do it because of the zeal to capture power. Because when they capture power, then they will be also able to sell their programs and projects or policies.
Mm.
And another crucial issue why we've got into this situation is the fact that if you look at Ghana, for instance, we have huge cities. Kumasi is one, Accra is one, Takoradi and Tamale is one. But apart from these huge cities, we also have some of the population thinly spread across the country. You need to reach them because one vote can make a difference in politics. Therefore, if you are not able to reach the person who lives in the rural area, then the likelihood that you are going to win the election could be doubtful. So the reason is that the part of the program is for them to reach every corner of the country. But you can't cross, say, Akosomo Dam or the Akosomo River, Volta River, unless you have the means. You need to pay people to even go to these rural areas to campaign. If you don't have the money, you are not going to get the people to go to these rural areas. So one of the reasons is that population is not evenly distributed. They are not also concentrated at one location. Unlike in the Greek era, I'm talking about several centuries ago, where few people will come together and they will decide. Here you need to reach everybody. And reaching everybody cannot be done when you don't have the resources. So that is also one. Another reason also had to do with the fact that competition has become very vigorous. Look at MPP NDC. It is a vigorous competition that is a do or die. If you don't win, you are going to starve for the next 4 years. So the fact that the competition has become so vigorous also push these actors or party activists to look for money regardless of the source.
Mm.
So the competition everywhere, if you look at US, for instance, is very vigorous. If you don't put in a lot of money, either through adverts, sending people on foot, knocking doors, you are going to lose.
Mm.
The vigorous nature of politics has also brought in the concept of moneycracy.
Okay.
Because without the money, you cannot reach the people who your voters. Mm. And once you are not able to reach them and send your message to them, your chances of winning election could be said to be zero.
Mm.
So that is what I would like to say for now.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to ask you just a follow-up on something that you said about the research finding, which argues that politicians believe that the more money that you spend, the likelihood that you're going to win elections. Do the electorates also think the same? Is it something which is also a cause? Maybe in just a minute. And then another thing I wanted to ask you is that, do you think that, should I say private financing, do we also have anything like private citizens being interested in financing political parties? Has that also been a cause of moneycracy already in the African politics?
Yeah, to take that one, you see that companies have interest, individuals have interest. These interest groups tend to push their own agenda. For instance, if you come to the oil industry, They don't want regulation on environmental issues. So what do they want? They want to support a candidate who will not regulate them. So these corporations sometimes push money to areas or to political parties who support the agenda. If you go to US, for instance, we have the Koch brothers. They are seriously anti-environmental issues. They are into oil. So any regulations that will stifle the ability to conduct the operations, they will have to fight it. So the Koch brothers always pump money into US elections, especially supporting candidates who will not regulate them. They have their interest. Trade unions, for instance, also have their interest. Trade unions will support political parties that will also advance the cause of labor.
Okay.
So they have their own objectives. Individuals, or as we call them, private citizens, they also have the objectives. Some support political parties because they share the ideology of the political party. Some support the political party because they want to support the development of democracy. But a lot of them also support or pump money to political parties because they want to take over the policy making of those political parties, so that when those political parties win power, they will be assigned, say, a ministry to run. Okay. And if you go to Africa, it's very common that political parties, when they win power, they begin to share ministries to key financiers. Because you gave us this amount of money, we are giving you the Ministry of Environment. Because you also gave us this amount of money, we are also giving you the Ministry of Transport. So you see that they share ministries to these people, and contracts that come within these ministries go straight to these people who provided the funds.
If you can summarize in just a minute for me, this will be great.
Yeah, so I would say that private citizens have their own objectives, corporations have their own objectives, individuals have their own objectives and reasons why they support or finance political parties.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is also very great from your side. And I turn my attention to you, Professor Opoku-Antwi. I get the impression that, I mean, democracy is quite expensive, and, you know, party or political financing is equally important. And so it's not something that we can necessarily do away with it. I know we'll come to deal with how to address the effects, but then I want you to tell us more about what you think are some of the effects of, you know, monocracy, if the defining character in our democracy is hinged on money instead of quality. Are we going to have any effects after all? If I have the money and I can win elections and I'm equally qualified, why should it be wrong? What are some of the effects of, you know, monocracy in our politics?
Thank you very much, Evans. I think that my colleagues, Dr. Rekun and Lord, have done justice to the questions you asked them. The challenge of cut and paste of your job of hosting is difficult because you have different panelists talking about different issues. I want to stick to the basis of politics and elections in Africa, democracy or monocracy. That is our topic. And the preamble of democracy starts with this: we the people. So anything that does not go in consonance with we the people is not democracy. The other thing is that, how do you earn power? Did you convince the people of what you can do for them, or you bought it? Anything you buy means that you have a different interest. And democracy is not supposed to be bought. If you look at Africa, because I'm sticking to Africa, I know Lord compared a lot of US things. I belong to the CPL, Center for Progressive Leadership, and I was supposed to run for office in US here. So I don't want to compare the two. If you look at all the indicators of research, it's easy to do research in Africa because you do a research in one country, you can replicate it in other countries. We have many similar indicators in Africa, and most of the things that I said. If you look at assembly elections, if you look at the unit committee elections, if you look at the MC appointment and how they have to pay money to all the assembly members so that they can endorse them, if you look at the MPs and the delegates, if you look at the presidential elections, we are not practicing democracy. We are practicing monocracy. In fact, we in Africa don't even understand democracy. We have a system in most African countries where we've cut and pasted the American system and the British system, combine them, because the British system have, a parliamentary system. America have a presidential system. We've combined the two when we don't even understand the base of these countries, because democracy goes with their culture too. I've attended many conferences where the question is, how should African democracy be? Until we are able to answer that question, we'll be running in cycles trying to define democracy and monocracy. Now, when I talk about monocracy, I want to stick to the topic that you gave me. It's just using money and gifts to buy power, political position, influence, or social status. So anytime you are using money or gifts, now the word there is buy. You are buying instead of earning it. And you acquire that political position or influence or social status. That is not democracy. You have used money to buy that power. So I call it the irrational fear. Irrational fear. There's always a fear that somebody is going to beat me and then get opportunity to go out there to the national level and steal more money. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I win this power. That is why St. George sold his house. That is why some people will go and borrow money from contractors and private individuals just to run for office. One day I'll talk about some of the solutions, but I'm going to stick to the effect of it. All that I can see is that there's not a single positive effect of the way we are running our democracy. Anytime you use money to go buy influence and power, we are institutionalizing a bad culture. And that culture is bribing your way through power. So let me define quickly what culture is. It is the behaviors, ideas, attitudes, values, and traditions shared by a group of people from one generation to the other. So what are our values in this? Just to give money and win power, go out there and then steal more money? What are our ideals in this? If you look at the theories, the beliefs, the values, and the research, the picture is not good. So these are some of the effects. Excuse me. We are putting criminals and drug cartels and armed robbers to be policymakers. These guys will make money, whatever way they have money. It could be juju money, it could be Sakawa money, it could be killing somebody to have money, it could be selling their land, it could be borrowing from the bank. I can tell you that the recent primaries that the NPP had, the least spent 60,000 Ghana cedis. The least of them spent not less than $150,000 just for about 400 delegates.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
So that is a lot of money. When you live in countries, most African countries, that somebody need Gary to eat for dinner and they can't get it. 1 square meal, some people cannot afford it. But because of the quest for that power, they have to do everything to earn that money so that they can pay their way through. The decision is simple. If I go to sell my land or go to raise a loan or somebody gives me money, my hands are twisted. As soon as I win the power, I come back and the first thing I have to do is, where can I get money to pay my debtors? Those I owe. And that is why we are not making any progress. So which people are we sending? You asked a very important question, that rich people not supposed to be contesting for these things. It's not supposed to be money. If we want to practice good democracy in Africa, if I was the president, the Electoral Commission would put a contestant on a sheet of paper. Their names and all their qualifications are there. Just go and talk to the people. If I see you putting money in there, you'll be in trouble. We have not reached a place in Africa where, like America and other places where we had a super PAC. People giving money, corporations like the Koch brothers that Lord talked about, giving money. These political parties, there are a lot of things that happens in advanced world that we cannot compare ourselves to because they have lobbyists, you know, and these lobbyists are past governors and mayors who know people. And they lobby because if you talk about the invisible hands of demand and supply, there are many things like the environmental issues. Nobody will take care of it. So let's talk about pollution. You have these Koch brothers who have a lot of dairy products. And then somebody want to come and regulate them, that if you emit A or B amount of pollution, you're going to pay A and B. Now, what they will do is that they will get some lobbyists to go out there and then lobby for them so that no regulation will be passed against them. They are fighting for their interest. So let me show you how lobbyists work in America. The lobbyists, when Congress, I'm talking about the state Congress and the national Congress sit, the lobbyists will be having their special place and then listen to the debate. So we're going to pass environmental protection on A or B. As soon as they take a recession, a break, they come to your office. Okay, this is what you guys are going to do. Go and vote no. And once you vote no, we will come and build a library at your village or your town and put your name on it. That's how they lobby. It's not about money. So when we compare Africa to that of Europe or America, we'll be comparing oranges, and that is going to be kind of a difficult thing. So let me still stick to my topic. We are going to have a cultural context that will make it a norm to pay money to win power. So is that a kind of culture we want to build? The next thing is bad governance as an end product. If you don't have quality people winning power, but people who have money and they're able to convince others with money just to win power, I don't know the kind of policies that they are going to make and laws they are going to make for the country, or the kind of leadership they are going to elicit to the people. Then there's also no accountability to the people. If I paid money to be in that position, how am I accountable to you? Because I've already paid you. And that is why you see most of these guys, after winning power, they go to parliament or their position as an MC, and you don't see them again. Because they paid you. They have paid you. And now it's time for them to get their money back. So kind of an investment, and they need a return on their investment. We should not make democracy business. Once we get into a business, then we're going to have structural problems. The last thing I want to talk about is that it causes damage to the socio-political and economic landscape in Africa. Society suffers. The political landscape also suffers. And then the economy also suffers. Because people who have paid money to earn positions, they don't think about basic infrastructures. How the people will get quality food, how they get good roads, how they get all those things that the people need. They are only thinking about their investment they made and how they can get the money back. And that is why they have all their priorities wrong. They were thinking about cathedrals, they were thinking about many other unnecessary things. The simple person sitting down will see that even my mother can tell you a good leader from a bad leader. Who have never attended school can tell you about a good leader from a bad leader, just based on the things they do. And sometimes you wonder that, are these kind of leaders Africans are churning? Because where is their priorities? And the reason is simple. They use money, they borrowed money, they sold their land, they borrowed from people and the banks to get into that position. And the agenda is, how do I get my money back? Do you blame them? No, you blame the people. We have made it so. When they give you the money and you ask them to take their money back and use the money to do the right thing, build good roads, build good bridges, build good hospitals, build good schools, these problems will be solved and we'll not be sitting here talking about it.
Thank you very much, Professor Opoku Entry, for your interesting perspectives. It's quite revealing for me that you say it as it is, that Africa, we're not practicing democracy, but purely monocracy. And also, but I just wanted to ask you this, just a follow-up. So you think that because of the system that we have, we still do not have quality leaders at all, or you feel because of the way in which they got power, that is, once you buy power, you agree with those who believe that then it robs them of their consciousness and they necessarily do not do anything. But we see that a number of politicians, even though might have, bought power, but they do a lot of good things. But you disagree with that?
No, I don't. I know that we have some good guys who are doing a good job, but the challenge is that most of these good guys will not even get there to the top.
Okay.
Because at the grassroots of contesting, the person with more money will win. We saw that just current primaries, about 40 people lost their position, not because they are not competent, but because they could not pay the delegates more money. And that's so if I'm competing with you on ideas, unfortunately, Africans don't believe in knowledge and wisdom. That's our problem. You know, look at what slavery has done to us. We still have mental slavery. And I have many friends who are members of parliament and other things. And when I come home, I go with them to campaign at the villages. Sometimes what the people ask is funny. They need a shed for funeral, a shed. Just come and build a shed for us. And we need a parking lot. We need, you know, they think about petty things. And I am surprised by the way people have their way. So there was this man that I talked to who received money from one of these guys. And I asked him, why do you want to take money? He said, well, because when you vote for them, you don't see them again. And I've talked to, you know, I have a book that is $83 on Amazon on political leadership corruption in Africa. When you talk to these people, delegates, they will tell you that, okay, we are sending them there to make money. Look at the mentality. We are sending them there to make money. So let's take our share. Here, that is our cocosism. Let's take it before they go, because when they go, they don't remember us anymore.
Yeah.
Now I have given you your share. So when I go, logically, what do you expect me to do? So we've got the base wrong.
Yeah.
Of democracy in any advanced country. Look at US here. When Bernie Sanders or anybody is contesting for elections, the people, again, I started with the preamble with the people will give $1, $2, $3. The people rather give money to these candidates that, look, we know you're good, and then you can help us with ideas. So we want to take you out there to serve us.
Okay.
Somebody's giving $1, somebody's giving $2. You go, you know you are accountable to the people. Accountable. But if I come to pay you money, I'm no more accountable to you. I'll pay you off.
All right.
So we should look at that base.
Thank you very much, Professor Opoku Entry. I would like to come back to you, Lord, to say on this one, and then thank you all for what you have said so far as democracy versus monocracy is concerned. And I'm sure at this time it's pretty much clear that we are practicing monocracy in Africa other than democracy. And if we are not careful, the rising institutionalization of this monocratic system is indeed going to affect our democratic system. And so what we intend to do in this final round of questions would be, can we indeed deal with this problem? And if we can, how can we deal with it? And I'd like to start with Lord on what you think, because you touched more on political parties and funding being a major cause of this problem. What do you think can be done at the political level in order to, prevent this, the highest bidder wins, or, the highest bidder gets the opportunity to govern instead of the right people, Lord?
Lord is muted. He has to unmute himself.
Sorry about that. Professor Entry touched on one thing during his last statement. He made mention of Bernie Sanders and the donation coming from the people, $1, $2. This is critical. If you want to win election without turning your election, the system into a monocratic system, then you need to have small donations coming from everywhere. Small donations. I mean, one of the reasons why I would like to cite US, Obama won his election, was that the donations were very small and it was coming from the ordinary people. So if you want a system that will be fair to everyone, that the poor can participate and win, then the donations should come from everywhere, especially from the people, and it should be very, very small. Not very small to say, but it should not be coming from the big donors, because when the big donors come in, they hijack the whole process, and then they drive it to their own agenda. So the small donations. I also like to say that at the political level, public spending should be the focus. We have what is called party subsidy. The state should be able to subsidize the political parties, because if you don't do that, good people, good movements that do not have money would completely cease to exist. So for us to have a fair election, for us to have good people going to parliament to legislate on our behalf, we should have a system where the state support the political parties. But I know some people have raised constitutional or legal issues as to the legality of the state supporting political parties. Is it legal, or can it be constitutionally defended that states should support political parties? That is a story of its own. But I think that's part of the solution. We should have a system where the states partly support the political parties. Then also at the political level, if you go to Ghana, for instance, one of the key arguments that the opposition sometimes make is that they don't have access to media, especially the state-run media. So I think we should give them free broadcast as part of the solution, because if we give them free broadcast, they too will be able to sell their message to the people. And that will be a free, fair, and a fair playing ground for everybody. Then also, we have to also limit the amount of money the candidates that run for the election they spend. I'm very glad Professor Entry spoke about 60,000 people spending 60,000, and then the NDC also setting the presidential primary fee at around 430,000, as Dr. Ishmael said. We should limit the amount of money that individuals who contest election don't use from their own pocket. For instance, if you go to US, Donald Trump is a rich man, he's a billionaire. If you don't constrain him, he will use his own money to run election and beat every candidate who contests against him. So there should be a limit to what the candidates themselves spend from their own coffers. Apart from that, I think that there should also be disclosure. I'm ending my last statement.
Okay.
There should be a disclosure. What I mean by disclosure, political parties should disclose who is donating to them.
Okay.
There should also be a ban on private donations. If you are coming to give a political party money, be prepared to know that the public or the people are going to know that you donated this amount of money to them. If you are afraid for people to know that you are donating money, then don't come in at all.
Yeah.
So through this, we can have a very fair system. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you also for your points. And but quick one, I've also heard others who have argued that if the political parties expand their electoral college, this could also be a way to reduce monocracy in our politics. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I share that argument, or I share that opinion, because the bigger the electoral college, the more likely you are likely to have different people coming. The rich people will come in, the poor will come in. But if you don't have that huge electoral system, electoral college system, then you are going to have only the rich, because they will be able to compete. But if you widen it big enough, you have others coming in, and others including the poor. And in Africa, if you look at the poor tend to have good understanding of how to run government, except that they don't have money to win the election. They don't get the opportunity to go to parliament or to become president. some of the intelligent people in Africa are the poor. But because of the money, this system that we are talking about, the monetization of democracy in Africa, these people always tend to find themselves on the other side of the political campaign. They don't win the primaries, therefore they don't win the presidential election, and therefore they don't get to form the government. Okay. And if we are going to do that, we want to change it, then we have to broaden the electoral college system so that more people can come in and we can have a very good victory for everybody. Yes.
Thank you very much, Lord Edusei, for your suggestions on how political parties could help address this problem. I turn my attention to you, Professor Opoku-Antwi, and I would like that you look at it from the national level. I know Lord has already, most of the points that Lord touched on seem to me as if it might require some bit of regulations, you know, to be able to realize some of the points. But regardless of what he has said, from your perspective, what do you think can be done, you know, as a nation or as a continent to be able to address this problem of monocracy in our politics? Thank you.
Thank you, Evans. I think the answers are yes or no. It depends on the people's willingness and ability to drive a cultural change. That is the only way we can kill monocracy. I agree totally with Lord when he said that we should broaden the base. If everybody is a delegate, I don't think you have money to pay everybody. So that we, the people, will begin to work. The few people, in fact, these delegates are going to kill us. Sir John just passed away and he said, fear delegates. I've met him many times, and these delegates are killing our democracy because they are selfish, they are self-centered. What they are looking for is money. So at the national level, I'll go for Haydn. There's a guy called Haydn in 2006. He had a theory called economy of affection. And that economy of affection makes political leaders automatic fatherly heads of African societies. So based on his theory, if you want to do politics, then you are going to be a fatherly figure to most of these delegates and individuals all across Africa. They'll come to you for money, for school fees, for this, because they think if you need power, then you are assuming to be a leader or a father for all of them. And that's wrong. Somebody who wants to do politics and serve is not supposed to play a fatherly role of paying school fees and doing all kinds of things. I've had situations where some MPs told me that some delegates came to them. One delegate was pregnant and needed money for abortion and went to his MP. That is a shame. But that is the theory of economy of affection. So we should not be thinking that way, because anybody at the national level who wants to do politics or to serve is not supposed to be a fatherly figure to the citizen. The president is supposed to make policies that will bring improvement and development to the community, but you don't assume fatherly roles. So we should all be responsible citizens. If you want to have children, then be ready for that responsibility. You know, you don't assume that, as I sit here, many people have named their kids after me, and anytime they will call it that, well, you have to do this. So it's interesting. And you can tell that it's all coming from our culture. That is why anywhere that I go, the culture is, how should African democracy be? That's a missing link. At the national level, we've not been able to point out that our democracy is going to be different from the British or from the American, because we have a tradition of the chiefs and all these and the elders. How do we inculcate that into our democracy? We should be looking at that, because that piece is missing. If we have some good cultural values and we add that one to our democracy, it's going to help us. But as I speak to you, we've not been able to point to that. So the theory of economy of affection, we should look at that. The other thing was another theory by a guy called Lindbergh. He developed on this theory of Haydn and talked about personal assistance and benefits are not type of accountability we should be looking for. So the lack of accountability effect has two other responses: responsiveness and answerability. When we talk about responsiveness, it is the extent to which political party acts in a manner to meet the expectation of the people. Anytime they pay their way through at the national level, they are not responsible or responsive to the citizens, but they are responsive to their political parties. That is why we have political party agendas and not national agendas. So anybody who wins power comes and follow the agenda. If I want to do free senior high school, whatever policy that I have that I propose to my people from my political party is exactly what I'm going to do. Forgetting that once you get to the top, you are ruling the whole country. And whether somebody voted for you or not, they are all part of the country and their concerns also matters and their needs. So that responsiveness is missing. The last one is the answerability. Who are they answerable to? Again, is their political party, not the citizens. So when we talk about the answerability, is the truthfulness of a political party stewardship report on what measures have been taken and with what consequence. So these two things are missing at the national level, responsiveness and answerability. Once we are able to check that, then at the national level, we'll be able to solve our monocracy problem.
Thank you very much, Professor Opoku Antwi. One of the points that I particularly liked was the third one, which is the answerability. But I am still wondering that, are we not going to face challenges because political parties at the moment come to power based on their manifestos, and their manifestos are what they use to govern the country. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but this is the system that we have. And so if they do not answer to their political parties, they do not answer or address the things they said in their manifestos, who should they answer to if not to their manifesto or to their political party?
Once you win, you are answerable to the entire population, not only your political party. And if you've seen African elections, most people win with 52%, 53%, and the one who loses will be about 46%, 47%. Unfortunately, for the next 4 years, you're going to have the 46, 47% pulling the weight of the 52%. And that is why we are always antagonizing and fighting among ourselves, because our system is also the winner takes all. So if you win power, you are no more answerable and responsive to your political party, but to the nation.
True.
People are fighting for political party, but who cares about the national agenda? We should have a national policy. You have to do A, B. That is why America, Europe, everywhere, they are still existing. They can have horrible leaders. Of course, Trump is a horrible leader, but all the institutions are working because they were built before he came. And it doesn't matter how bad the leader is, the system works. Situation, the leader directs everything.
Yeah.
And because of that, if the leader is not answerable to the citizens or the citizen, but to his or her political party, then Houston will have a problem. You are muted.
Thank you very much, Professor Opoku Antwi, and thanks also for, giving me the signal. I come to you, Dr. Rekun, and I know they might have touched on some of the solutions as far as the societal level is concerned. And so it's the same question. How do we deal with it? We have heard from Lord, who talked about dealing with it from the political point of view. Professor Opoku Antwi talked about it from the national level. And for you also, how do we deal with it from the citizenry? What should be done? Maybe I should start by saying Lord already touched on helping with small donations. So if you could touch on that also, that would be interesting, how these things could be done. Thank you.
Evans, thank you. I kind of agree with the points I just say Lord and then Enoch and she have already talked about. But I think I kind of agree with the public spending more. I think it's very important because even though we talk about political parties to be national assets, there's nothing to support them. Okay, they are created by the Constitution. If there's nothing to support political parties, people see it as a private entity, even though it's supposed to be a public. So there's budget. Every public institution gets something, but political parties are left out all the time. I think that is something problematic. I mean, the argument I've heard is that we are poor, a very poor society. We have not been able to stamp out poverty. And so there's no way we are going to give money to political parties to spend. But if you don't give money to political parties, it's very unlikely you'll be able to control them. I mean, in fact, the logic itself doesn't matter. There should be such. I feel like in most democracies where they have been able to control or curtail the excesses of political parties, there are some kind of financial mechanism to support political parties so that they see themselves as what? As public entities and not a private entity. I mean, the reason why I think it's important is that apart from the fact that they are public entity, I think we can develop some mechanisms, okay, I mean, everything we are talking about moneycracy, whatever, is as a result of one fundamental problem called incentive, okay? Any political system where there are competition among or between people, there is the potential that there will be moneycracy. Okay, and that's the problem. It's not a problem of Africa, it's a problem all over the world. Countries have rather been able to deal with it through regulations, public funding. Okay, Ghana, we have regulations to actually curtail, I mean, to present their financial reports and then auditor report to the EC. Okay, EC has not been able to enforce this, and I think the reason why they've not been able to enforce it is because, I mean, there's no incentive for political parties to enforce, and also because there's no public funding, they also feel like, I mean, it's not appropriate. We can develop mechanisms. There are incentives in Canada, for instance, and even in the US, where my other colleagues have talked about. In the US, there are incentives for candidates who are able to generate resources from the grassroots, especially from individuals. And there are systems in place to limit the role of business interests and corporations funding political parties and candidates directly. And that's why they have created the PACs. You know, they were talking about super PACs, you know, especially of entry, talking about super PACs. And so super PACs are there, but usually because of the kind of regulations they have in the United States, super PACs are not allowed to directly fund political candidates and political parties. They are allowed to engage in expenditure related to the elections. Maybe if you support environment, you are more likely to create the political atmosphere that will support, I mean, environmental laws. And if you see a government or a particular political party that supports the environment, then you kind of do certain things to help the party, but you don't support them directly. It's indirect kind of support, okay, to buy campaign, create consciousness, you know, for people to vote for the government, but you don't support them directly. These are mechanisms you can put in place. And those parties or candidates who are able to generate, I think it's about $5,000 from each state, okay, from individuals, you are also likely to get some incentive. So this, or subsidy, okay, so it depends on how much you spend and how much you're able to generate across the various states. There will be some subsidy for you. In Ghana, I think we have to create some incentive. We try to create some funding for political parties and try to create the funding in such a way that, I mean, political parties are not going to spend them uselessly, okay? Because they are supposed to submit their account to the EC. The EC, because they are monetary incentive, will have, because if you don't comply with it, you don't get the subsidy, okay? You don't get the public financing for political parties. It's not just like, and there should be criteria. Okay, in Canada, you should be able to get 10% of the votes, 10% of the vote cast. In Ghana too, political parties can be funded by using similar criteria, saying that, you know, you should be able to have enough support, or voters must be at your camp before you can earn the financial support from the government. And I think that if we introduce these measures, we'll be able to curtail the excesses of political parties.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I think this talk about, I mean, expanding the electoral base. I don't really see that could resolve the problem. But I think it's good because it helps to broaden the participation of the people in a democracy. But as to whether it's going to be able to address the problem of moneycracy, That I'm not sure. The reason why I say so is that, I mean, the research that have been done says that even in national elections, okay, the amount of money political parties spend is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And even recently, when NDC expanded their electoral coverage, okay, to I mean, people at the grassroots, what happened was that they increased the filing fee so significantly, and the justification they gave for the increase was that they are expanding the electoral college. If we continue to do that, I feel like the rich are going to still dominate the political system, which may not be in the interest of everybody. And so I think that what needs to be done, and I agree with Edmund, is that to spread the sources of wealth for political parties, spread it to political parties, so that, I mean, the only way you can spread the sources of wealth to political parties is if you are able to cap it, so that individuals, not one person, can contribute beyond, let's say, 2,000 Ghana cedis. If you put that cap on how much individuals can pay or contribute for political parties, the incentive will be that you have to spread the sources of wealth to everybody in the country.
Okay.
That way we can generate enough money that is not coming from any specific interest. Because if the resources is coming from any specific interest, I mean, there's a psychological incentive. You may have the best president, you may have the best MP, but once they took the money from a precise or a very focused person or interest, there's a tendency that they will want to, I mean, satisfy the interest of that person when they come to power. Okay, and that's why spreading the wealth across board, it enhances democracy and as well as help with development after elections. Okay, so that, because when a lot of people supported your party, there's the tendency that you want to do something that meet everybody's interest. So usually public goods are what counts. Road, I mean, toilet facilities, I mean, electricity, those things that will benefit the entire population. That's what politicians will focus on if we should spread the sources of wealth. And that is why I agree with Eduse on that. And it's going to enhance our democracy. There are other things that were touched on, because, I mean, we talk about there are good people in democracy and they are rich, they are able to do good. I mean, we can talk of Mohammed Buhari. Buhari, for instance, was anti-corruption.
Sorry, if
also another anti-corruption guy.
Dr. Rekun,
Yeah.
can I please come in? If you don't mind, for the sake of our time. So if you could spend about 2-3 minutes, we wanted to hear from you what you think the ordinary Ghanaian, should know in terms of also helping to address this issue. Because, I mean, they are also, like Professor Pokuentri already said, democracy is for the people. So it's the people who would have to, decide. And in this case, what would be your take? What do you think the people should also know in order to help reduce this problem of monocracy in our system?
Yeah, I think, that's a very good point. And I think Prof already dealt with that. And I agree with Prof, I mean, squarely. Prof talked about the fact that, I mean, and I'm saying that there should be a cultural shift in our political system, because when you talk about democracy, it's actually perpetrated by both the politicians as well as the people. Okay. And recently, I mean, the Westminster Foundation, I think in 2018, the Westminster Foundation for Democracy actually did a research together with CDD, and they came out with the conclusion that political candidates spend a lot of resources during elections, and a lot of the resources are spent providing gifts to people, and they mentioned chiefs, religious leaders, delegates, foot soldiers. These are people that are living within the community in which we live. We are trying to help. Okay, and so for us to be able to strengthen democracy, we need a cultural shift. Some politicians will get the nod in the election, and then all they see is that people are lined up. A lot of poor people have lined up for their school fees. I don't think our politicians were actually elected to pay school fees of individuals. Okay, we have to curtail that, and that requires a cultural shift. We need to make a cultural shift. I mean, try to sensitize the people that, this is a system of government that will help everybody if we are able to, limit the extent to which we depend on politicians. If we are able to create a system whereby everybody contributes, their quota to the national development, we should always focus on the national development. And the more we depend on politicians, the more likely they will like to recoup whatever they have spent. And that's why we have seen some kind of investment politicians or private commercial politicians. Okay, they vote a lot of money trying to win your vote. Once they do that, they want to recoup their money with sometimes a high level of interest, and we should not tolerate that to happen. And that begins within the society we have. Unfortunately, we don't have any system that actually measures the rate of moneycracy. Yeah. Maybe it's as an area that SEPSA may want to target. Okay, we should be able to. There are other institutions that are measuring democratic index, corruption perception index. Of course, we should also measure the extent to which monocracy has penetrated our political system. And it wouldn't be a bad idea if all institutions, especially SEPSA, is able to focus on that. We go to the communities, interview them, the extent to which monocracy, and we try to rank political parties according to the extent to which they use money in their elections. One good thing about such report is that it brings about competition. Nobody wants to be seen as, getting office because of they paid a lot of money. They want to be seen as saints who actually fought the battle, fought according to ideas. So once you do such kind of report, political party will then they'll get some incentive to reduce the extent to which they pay money, and the society at large will benefit. I think these are some of the things I believe we can do to help our society.
Thank you very much. And that was also great from you, Dr. Rekon. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. We have very limited time. And so I will just give all of you 2 or 3 minutes each. And this is what I would want you to touch on. It's a huge problem. We have seen it has very huge repercussions on our democracy moving forward. But I would love that each of you will speak to the ordinary citizen, the ordinary African citizen, because I also feel that we have major roles to play. The political parties, if they are left alone, you know what they can do, because they really want to have this power. So what would you all tell the ordinary citizen in Ghana, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Kenya? What should they be doing? What can they do? What should they know as far as accepting money from a politician? What can they do to stop this thing? What would be your suggestion to the ordinary citizen in just a minute or two? I start with you, Professor Opoku-Antwi.
Thank you, Evans. My concluding words are that our premise and conclusion of democracy has been wrong. And fellow citizens of Africa, if we need to change this, we need to unfreeze our culture. We need to change it and then refreeze it. Because culture always eats strategy for breakfast. It doesn't matter the strategies that we have as a continent. If the culture is wrong, then we're going to have problems. I want you to analyze what I call the analogy of visualization. What do you see? After taking money from these politicians and they go to office, what do they do for us? We the people. Nothing has worked because of the way we've practiced it. So let's change the premise and then let's change the conclusion. The conclusion we have that since we made it possible for all these political leaders to get into office, we should be rewarded with a share of their resources is wrong. We should not even have the thoughts of these leaders going there to amass themselves with wealth. And because of that, before they go, we should also get our share of their resources. If we can put all our wheels together, our shoulders together, and work, making sure that the little drop of money, every drop of money is used for development of basic infrastructure and services for our people, I think that no African need to travel anywhere in the world. We can all enjoy our country because God in his wisdom made us Africans, and we should be proud to develop our countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is well said, and I must say that I really enjoyed it. Dr. Rekon, what would be your concluding remarks to the ordinary African citizen.
Okay, I want to emphasize that, corruption in Africa has been increasing over the years. In fact, I mean, a report by The Economist, by some institutions, especially the Economist Intelligence Unit of the UK in 2019 report shows that, I mean, many countries in Africa, in fact, it's only one African country that is democratic, that has attained full democracy. The remaining African countries are either, they are either authoritarian, hybrid regimes, or they have flawed democracy. That is not a good thing. We should try to. Transparency International also shows that, over time, corruption in Africa has been rising. Okay, and about 1.3 trillion, especially in developing countries in general, are usually spent on corruption. Okay, apart from that, we have also seen that about 50 billion per annum of illicit funds are taken outside Africa. These are not good signs. We should all try to address the problem of corruption. And moneycracy, vote buying are some of the key sources of this corruption. We should try to address this. For us to address this, it requires the role of each and every stakeholder within Africa. I mean, the poor, rich, different levels of African countries have to fight this. At the individual level, at the national political party, every level have to fight. At the level of individual, it's very key because the motivation, is actually because the people are going to take those monies. If the people are not going to take those monies, I don't think the politician will pay this excess money in order to win election. So everybody must take a role. In fact, as individuals, we should not be stakeholders, just not even accepting those. Anybody that tried to provide money in order to win your vote must be reported to the authorities. And groups should be formed in order to campaign against moneycracy. That it is only when our political system and of course our political culture changes, beginning from the people, that we can address the problem of moneycracy. And so I encourage every African country to be a stakeholder, in fact, a participant stakeholder, so that we can just stamp out this menace from our political system.
Thank you very much. And Lord Edusei, you have the final bite. What would be your concluding remark to the ordinary African citizen?
I would like to conclude that the citizens in Africa, those in Ghana, those in Kenya, those in South Africa, those in Egypt, everywhere, should understand that politicians are there to serve them. And what I mean by serving them is that they are there to initiate policies, implement those policies, so that these citizens will benefit from these policies. Politicians coming to you to give you 20 Ghana cedis will not help you 4 years after that money has been given to you. But if that politician is able to implement education programs, health programs, housing programs, that will have a better impact on the citizen's life than that 20 cedis. So the citizens should rather encourage the politicians to invest in policies rather than in tokens. Because by investing in policies, these policies will bear fruit, and these citizens will enjoy this fruit. But if they collect 5 Ghana, 2 Ghana, 20 Ghana, that will undermine their long-term sustainability as citizens in the country. Because once the money is given to you and you spend, the politician is not coming back to invest in your education. It's not coming back to invest in your housing system. It's not coming back to invest in health and the energy system. And therefore, your life for the rest of the 4 year period is going to be affected. So they should insist on investment in policies and implementation of policies rather than tokens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all of you for your insightful inputs as far as the problem of monocracy in African politics is concerned. And let me also say thank you to viewers for spending time with us. This has been a very interesting discussion. My concluding remarks also, I share with what Professor Opoku-Antwi already said. Please, there should be a paradigm shift. If you expect to receive something, expect to receive nothing at the end of the day. So let us all be conscious of who we vote for. We should not allow people who spend on us, who buy votes, to come into power. Thank you very much. My guest has been Professor Enoch Opoku-Antwi, Dr. Ishmael Reko, and Mr. Lord Edusei. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and viewers also, thank you very much. My name is Evans Apia Kisi. I am the host of SEPSA Talk. See you in our next episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.